The first of our exercises with the lower dantian is to essentially take the true lead and move it into the lower dantian. So previously we looked at how to anchor the breath down towards the base of the body, and really you want to be fairly well established in that practice. So what I mean by that is you must go through that exercise enough times that when you sit, within a few minutes, that quality of breathing arises. So you may have noticed that when you go through the exercise, how your breathing is at the beginning and how your breathing is at the end does not normally match, especially if you're new. The breathing gets deeper, it moves down towards the base of the body, and you can feel it start to warm the perineum, to start to light the furnace. You want to practice this enough that, like I say, when I sit and I straighten up the spine, and I take a few breaths, and I relax into my work, into my alchemical practice, that within a few minutes, as life eases away, and I settle into what I'm doing, that quality of breathing arises, so that my breath is anchored very, very low. So we'll just take a minute together to sit and breathe. As before, make sure the spine is upright, the body is comfortable. If you prefer to sit on a chair, feel free. If you're comfortable on the floor, do so. Allow the body to breathe of its own accord. As you slip from intention to attention by easing back with the strength and the level of control of your awareness, then your breath will start to sink towards that state you were previously studying. Once it gets low enough and it starts to warm the perineum, then I can allow my awareness just to go down here to the perineum, to the furnace, to the lu. And I just breathe. Once again, let your awareness just go down to the perineum, as we previously did. Don't try to force anything. Don't try to hurry anything. Don't use your imagination, because your imagination is another form of intending. Just let your awareness rest there. Now what we're going to do in the first of our Dantian practices is to start drawing the true lead, the yang aspect of the essence, into the Dantian area, to start to fill it from underneath, essentially. There are other methods to bring the yang qi to the Dantian. This is just one. This is the alchemical method. To do this, I want to use minimal force. That's the first thing we need to understand, because it is an active method, but it is a gentle method. So it feels more to me when I practice like I am plucking the true lead from the seat of yin at the perineum and plucking it into the lower dantian. It's not forceful, it's not squeezing. It's like I'm just teasing that yang qi out. So what I do is I let the mind reside down there on the perineum. I let the breath anchor itself to that place. Now what I have with regards to the dantian is the breath serving as a bellows from above. They call this the bellows that sits between heaven and earth. Heaven being the top of our body, the head, earth being the base. And I have the perineum serving as a furnace, the warmth of the yang aspect of the jing starting to cook. For the cauldron for the furnace to be strong, there must be enough consolidation of the Jing, which goes back to our lifestyle and our habits that we discussed before. Then I'm going to very subtly start to pluck the yang qi towards the dantian. So the way I do this is I'm going to draw the perineum up ever so slightly on the inhalation, but I don't use the muscles of the perineum. This is where people make a mistake. You'll see that this is a similar principle when we look at reverse breathing as well. I do not use the external muscles to draw the perineum up. Instead, it is as if my mind is on the top of the perineum, so inside the lower abdominal cavity, inside the sort of pelvic bowl, yeah? And what I do is I lift as if there is a little fine thread above the base of my body, and I'm just going to lift that thread ever so slightly. I'm just going to draw it, so it's like the perineum is drawn up from inside. The result, when I do this, is that actually the perineal muscles don't move very much at all, hardly at all. But because I'm plucking them up from the inside, instead it will pull the yang qi from the perineum up into the dantian. There is hardly any force or effort used whatsoever. So to do this, I become aware of the heat in the dantian, in the perineum, the furnace. I let my awareness reside here. The breath is allowed to become long. The more it settles, the more it anchors low, the longer it becomes naturally. It extends out. Then on the inhalation, gently pluck the perineum up from above. Very, very gently, just pulling it. Then as I breathe out, relax the perineum. Just let it go back to normal. Then again on the inhalation, just draw it up from above. So like I'm just teasing those muscles from above. You can be very, very subtle. Do not squeeze or tighten the perineum. That will create stagnation and a blockage. Sometimes too forceful a movement. So breathing in and out. Every inhalation, just draw from inside. Draw the perineum up ever so slightly. Those muscles will move so subtly you're not even sure if they're moving. It's just like a very, very slight drawing up of them. Remain with this practice for a while. Remember, the breath must be anchored low down so that there is pressure from above. The bellows of the breath is providing pressure from above. If the breath is not anchored low, and I start to try to draw the yang qi from the furnace from underneath, it will rise up through the body. You will know when that is happening because it will start to warm the seat of the heart. When it warms that area, your mind will become hyperactive, maybe a little emotional because of the stimulation here. That means that the breath is not anchored low enough. So the breath is not providing the cap for the yang qi to stop it rising. So I keep going with this practice, this slight teasing of the perineum up. And then after a while, the heat from the furnace will move into the dantian. I feel it like a little stream of warmth. It just starts to come up from that area into the dantian region. Now what I'm doing is I'm starting to extract the true lead and bring it into the Dantian field. Every inhalation becomes a little extraction of the true lead. Every exhalation, I just relax. So first we must seek that mechanism in the body. Keep going with this. You will get to a stage where I only have to draw that little tug up 2 or 3 times, and then it will continue happening of its own accord. If the warmth continues moving from there into the Dantian of its own accord, then there is no need for the method anymore. All I must do, all I have to do, is just listen and observe like before. Just give my attention to that process, and it will continue. The qi will continue moving into the Dantian. The yang qi will continue warming the Dantian. They say that the warmth of the furnace is now starting to move into the cauldron, or to heat the contents of the cauldron of the Dantian. As with all internal practices, once the causes are in place and the effects are arising, you may simply absorb into that process. Allow your awareness to absorb in. In this way, the level of your attention becomes a fuel for the process itself. Now, still in this seated position, we're going to bring the hands up and place them at the height of the bottom of our rib cage. Make sure it's not too high. The height of the diaphragm, facing straight down. Not a complicated hand position, just very close to the body, facing down. And I gently stretch open the center of the palm. And in this way, the hands will also serve as a cap to the qi, just like the breath does. So the hands are almost like a lid to help prevent the qi from going up in the body. So I just hold them here, remain with this practice, gently teasing the yang out of the essence into the Dantian. Do not use force, just be subtle. For this practice, in the early stages, we do not do much. The body needs to get used to this process, and we need to ensure that we're actually enabling the jing to consolidate, the essence to consolidate, and the breath to be anchored to the kidneys and the lower part of the body effectively. So we practice in 20-minute bursts. That's all. Not too long. And we always do the same. We sit, we settle into the practice, we allow the quality of our breathing to arise, whatever we've previously studied. Then we begin to allow the furnace to manifest at the perineum. If we're not at that stage yet, we continue till we are. Maybe that will take a few weeks of practice, maybe a few months, who knows. There is no rush. Then we begin to gently pluck from above that area of the body until the yang qi starts to move into the dantian. Then we hold the hands above like a lid, like a cap, so that it does not rise. Then we absorb into the process once it begins. "20 minutes, maybe once, twice a day, is enough." We harness the true lead very slowly, very gradually. Remember that if the jing is consolidated, then the warmth will be there and the yang aspect will move into the dantian. If we force it, we are trying to drag or crush that qi, or the breath is not anchored properly, the jing is not settled properly because we are too stressed, too active, whatever, then the body will try to replace the yang essence that you extract by converting into yang, and the body will become deficient and tired. So we are gentle. We maintain correct lifestyle habits, and we draw that qi into the dantian. Draw that yang in to harvest the true lead. Then when you are ready, when you are done, you bring the hands back out to the knees. And we just breathe. Just breathe normally now, no attention to the perineum or anything. Then after a minute of just sitting and breathing, we open the eyes, bring the arms around and up above our head, and we draw everything down inside the body as if you were closing down at the end of a qigong session, and just rest the hands in the lap. And that is the first of your exercises for the lower dantian. It should be built upon the foundation of the previous exercise, and then practiced until that little yang spark is extracted. If the yang spark does not move, do not try to use more force to achieve it, because that will not be wise. Keep it gentle, work on the foundations till it is ready to take place. The body must always almost be ready to achieve something when we try to achieve it. It's like it's teetering on the edge, and we just tip it that little bit further with our practice. The most effective hours of the day to practice this are between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m., they classically say, but in my opinion, actually it's more to do with sunrise. So it depends on when the sun rises. If you're in a part of the world where, like Scandinavia or something, where you don't have night or you don't have day at certain times of the year, then use the rule of 5 a.m. till 7 a.m. Maybe you can practice for yourself and see. The other time that is useful is sunset. So they said 5 in the afternoon till 7 p.m. Or full moon at midnight. These are the 3 times that will help you. Sunrise, essentially, sunset, or the full moon at midnight. So, once a lunar month. You can still practice it at other times, but at those times the environment will assist you in your practice and you will find it much easier. Thank you.